What is going on, guys? Welcome to NVIDIA's earnings. Finally, earnings are out. They're surprisingly pretty good. And there's a little bit of a surprise. We're going to look at that in a second. But as of right now, the market hasn't really responded all that much to earnings. This entire run up, like the last few weeks, has been what about NVIDIA? NVIDIA is going to move the market up, down. Well, it at least appears NVIDIA is not really going to do a whole lot. Expected range to the upside was about 1025. Downside was like 875, something like that. We're currently trading at 973 into all-time highs. So it is a positive response off of the earnings with NVIDIA. But we have not even moved the expected range. Not sure how to take this yet. If we actually go and pull up the earnings themselves, we can see here that they beat across the board. This is a very strong earnings report. The 10-for-1 stock split, I believe, is going to end up being the most bullish part of this entire thing. And what I want to point out really quick is that when a stock splits, it is a short-term bullish event, strictly because people will look to go and buy more shares because they are cheaper. There's no actual difference with what's going on here. The good thing, though, is for those of you that are trading options contracts are going to become cheaper as well. So that's great because as of right now, we're going through and kind of looking at options pricing contracts on NVIDIA. They were ridiculous. 2-day out, 0.25 delta. We're going for like $1,500, something like that, almost $2,000 today. That is absolutely wild. So we should see options contracts come down in value. And then obviously share price is going to come down in value, which helps out a lot. But the bigger picture here with if this does end up holding throughout the night, NVIDIA holding its pop into all-time highs, we're going to see this probably translate into a bigger move across the market. First things first, the Qs are at all-time highs, or they were slightly about 2 or 3 minutes ago at all-time highs. Is this going to translate over into tomorrow's price action? Potentially. Today's price action was incredibly boring. Not a whole lot happened. There wasn't a lot of volume. Like I said, it felt like the entire market was kind of waiting for NVIDIA. Well, NVIDIA's gone. It's over with. We have the results. There's not a big move, but it's positive. Does that translate into a bigger move tomorrow? The Qs were at all-time high just a few minutes ago. SPY was up near all-time high just a few minutes ago. Tech was at all-time highs just a few minutes ago. Semiconductors were at all-time highs and continue to be at all-time highs. Will this translate into a push tomorrow? I do want to point out that if you've been following our content over the last few weeks, we have been long semiconductors. We have taken risk out of those trades. We are still long semiconductors through this earnings report, but we are not holding full positions. Very early on, we were able to take risk out of the market, out of these particular positions, by closing half of the position at 100% or greater. TSM, we were able to do it twice. Bought it here. We bought it again here. So TSM is one of those trades that we have 2 positions in. Both of them are free, and we consider these now quote-unquote lottery tickets. We're on the right side of NVIDIA's earnings. Supposedly, the market is liking them, at least in the short term. We'll see if that holds through till tomorrow. But we now have no risk in either the first or second entry we have on TSM, and potentially we could see a very good response through Q2, rest of Q2 into Q3. That's kind of what we were going for. AMD as well. We have a position in AMD, which we opened up. We have a position in MU. We have a position in QCOM, and we have a position in AMAT. And I think that's all of them. We had no position in NVIDIA itself. I talked through this during yesterday's market update video because the cost was so incredibly high, the IV was so incredibly high that there were better vehicles to trade. It's an important concept to understand. If you can find correlation between 2 assets, generally they are going to be within the same industry group. Trade the better trading vehicle. All eyes are on NVIDIA. I understand. It's Wall Street's favorite stock. Everybody has their hands in it. But if you have a stock that's going to react positively off of NVIDIA's earnings, positively meaning in the same direction, and you have a bullish thesis going into NVIDIA's earnings, go trade the easier trading vehicle. Hopefully that makes sense. As of today, didn't really do a whole lot inside of the group. We put out the growth report earlier today. You can watch that video. I went through a bunch of stocks off of the growth report. There were 2 of them that I thought were setting up to be potential buys today. Both of those Could be on the books as early as today or potentially later on in the week, depending on when people want to pick those up. 2 ads that have been greenlit that I finally sniped. This has been one of our biggest wins inside of the group this year. We were able to buy back here at this 45 area, and we've held through essentially the entire move. Finally, looking to reclaim a new position in app, but I didn't want to just buy the gap up, right? That's disadvantageous for us. We want to buy pullbacks in strong uptrends. This allows us to grab contracts if you're trading options cheaper. And from an equity standpoint, it allows us to enter closer to whichever stop loss you're looking at. So you can see here we had a trade idea here, but the real entry that we wanted to snipe was somewhere near 78.5. It's where the gap originated. Today, I took advantage off of the big down day today, 4.76%. Contracts got crushed. I got filled on some October 100s, got about a 50% discount. I'm happy for that. Stop loss remains the same, somewhere near 75.5. This is a relatively tight stop. It's either going to bounce over the next day or two or I'm out. So it should be a relatively small loss if I don't end up catching the right entry. But this has been a market leader going back this year. This is one of the biggest trades I took this year. Contracts up 1,500% on the original buy. I still have some of those on the books for July, so I'm still holding a core position of those, but adding in here and extending out my exposure to October, so I'm happy to have grabbed that. And then Uber. Uber is kind of a tough trade here because most people aren't going to want to buy it in a downtrend. I totally understand. But if we remain objective really quick and look at where Uber is finding support, it's kind of a no-brainer to me. This was a market leader last year. We traded it multiple times here, here, and here. They were all wins. And now we're holding a core position of Uber with this 64 area as our entry point. We've started to already enter prior to today. Today is the day that I got filled on some December 90s. So I have a price target here of $95. I'm risking 64. Makes total sense. Previous all-time high. If it doesn't bounce off the 64 area, I'm going to give it about a 1.5x ADR move to the downside, and I'm stopping out if it doesn't work. If it does work, I'm expecting a bounce into new all-time highs later on in the year, and I feel like this 64 level just makes too much sense to try to risk an entry. I want it. That's where I wanted it. I was patient. I waited through the entire goddamn drawdown. I was able to grab contracts today. We'll see if that ends up playing out or not. Other than those 2 trades, I don't think there was a whole lot that we did in terms of opening new positions today. It was more so responding to the risk that we had open in terms of semiconductors. So some of the guys and girls that are inside the development program were not at 100% in names like TSM, so we were able to close off a large portion of those trades. So if NVIDIA did end up not responding well to its earnings, we weren't holding max risk through a binary event that we had no control over. That's kind of a nightmare scenario. You always want to be managing risk first, and then reward comes on the backside, right? You have to manage risk first. That's your number one job as a technical trader, managing risk. And so that's what we did. We managed risk on TSM. We managed risk on AMD. We were able to get those plays that were not up and over 100%, so not free. We were able to sell a portion of those contracts. So if NVIDIA did come down, the loss was very manageable. It wasn't a big loss in it. As of right now, once again, I don't know what NVIDIA is going to do. It is up here at all-time highs. Do we hold it through the end of tonight's session and then open up tomorrow? Kind of looks that way. I don't really have an opinion either way. We're obviously very bullishly positioned. We have upwards exposure in financials, or not financials, financials as well. But semiconductors, and so if NVIDIA ends up continuing to pop up here, it should bode well for our semiconductor exposure. One thing I do want to point out once again, that if NVIDIA holds this gap, we open up tomorrow and futures are up, I would expect the market to use this as an opportunity to continue its next ramp up. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty. I talk about it all the time inside of TTI and on the market research side, but I'm just going to say market breadth looks pretty goddamn good on this thrust to the upside. There's more net new highs than lows, and if you want to risk anything, just risk the previous all-time high pivot. As long as we're above that, it's really hard to want to be bearish after arguably the most important stock just reported and the market is liking it. There's always a million things to worry about. There's always a million reasons to be worried about what's happening. Just a couple weeks ago, there was people telling me that inflation was out of control, U.S. debt's out of control, geopolitics. I get it. There's always a million things. They were telling me that down here. You got to realize that news is noise, and you got to focus on what the charts, if you're a technical trader, are telling you. When price tells you to go, you got to go. That's all I got for you guys. If you're long, congratulations. Fingers crossed that NVIDIA holds this pop-up. If you're short, manage that well tomorrow. And if you're neutral, trade the trend. My name is Hamilton. I'm here at the Trading Initiative. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below if you're interested in following the trades that we take. Link is in the description below. Find us at the Market Research URL. And if you like this, you want the reports every day, 7 a.m., newsletter free, linked in the description as well. I'll catch you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, in your inbox.